As an immigrant who came here and started from nothing and couldn't get a job because of the lack of a green card, do you have an opinion that on the current refugee crisis and the immigration situation that we see today? And do you have a message for a lot of the people that come over with, from a level of opportunity? Do you find a lot of people coming and taking your courses and growing and learning from that, or do you feel like it's more challenging for them today? I'm just curious of your opinions and on the
So there are differences between immigrants and refugees. So I think those are two very different dynamics,
100%, yeah.
right? Like so, and I think that I talk about this a lot in my data choice book. That I think language is one of the reasons we can't agree with each other is because we use different languages to basically describe similar problems. Like we kind of couple things. We call entrepreneurs business owners entrepreneurs. We call refugees immigrants. Like and it's kind of one thing when these are two completely different things. So I didn't come into this country as a refugee, meaning I wasn't running away from oppression, right? I
Right.
was running away from getting killed or something like that happening. And I feel terrible for people like that because I have lived in environments like that. And I understand the reality of that. So I think people that give those people crap for why are you leaving Mexico? Why are you leaving this place? Not realizing what living conditions are in some of these places, and that these people would rather face death on their journey here than staying where they are. There has to be some level of nobility to that to want to take your family somewhere better, right? Like we see this with all the displacement from the wars going on around the world, which is an
Right.
unfortunate stupidity of the modern times. But at the same time, there are plenty of immigrants that come in this country with the desire to seek opportunity. Others seek refuge, right? So these are two different things. Those that seek opportunity, I think, should have a faster path to some level of green card. I think they should have a faster path once they come with a skill or are quickly working a job or paying taxes at an early age. We did that, certainly. My mom started working very early, and we got a green card as a result of starting a little coffee house and doing something. But again, I would say we're fortunate enough that my mom had saved 30 grand in France. And some people may or may not have that. 30 grand is very different than it was back then, right? So, I would say that, today I feel really bad for those people. But I think that just like I found a way to kind of make ends meet during those times until I was able to receive a green card, until I was able to basically have a normal path going through the process, which did take 8 years or so. So to be clear, it's not like I came and I was like, oh, okay, here you go. Well, you're cool. You seem like a cool kid. You don't know anything, but we'll give you a green card and we'll give your mom one too. So it took me quite some time, but at the end of the day, it was a multitude of just decisions that my mom made that put us in a position to be able to do that. And I think that there are people who are going to struggle where that's going to be harder. And I think that's a good thing. We have some sanctuary cities in the US that allow people to do that. And I also understand that there is a higher crime wave that comes from a higher level of poverty. And it's not necessarily linked directly to immigration, but just a higher level of poverty and the need for survivalship that comes from these cities because of the disproportionate amount of people who are refugees in these cities and don't have that. So I think it's one of these things where there isn't a one size fits all, that where there's a solution to this. But I do think that it's very unfortunate that the entire government hasn't come up with a better system and a better investment in an infrastructure to allow good immigrants that come here with skills a real path to either citizenship or correct like paying taxes. Basically, we want people to pay taxes. We make it hard for them to pay taxes. I don't it's kind of counterproductive. And then we
Yeah.
complain that they cost the system too much money. It's like, okay, well, these guys are working. Give them a card. They'll work. They'll pay taxes. They're not cheating. Like they want to work. And it's like, well, they can't work. It's like, well, they're going to work anyways. Now they're not paying taxes. So they can't not work. So it's like it ends up being this never ending cycle.
Yeah, I travel a lot, and recently in the last couple of years I've noticed I've had a lot of Uber drivers where I'm talking to my Uber driver and they have a spouse in another country that they're trying to bring over, and they work here, they go to school here, they're doing all the right things, but they're struggling to get them over because of the immigration policies and the challenges. And so it's unique. That's another challenge that I think from a governmental standpoint, like we have individuals here that are changing their lives, changing the environment and wanting to bring their families along with it. And that would also be something that I think would be worth fast tracking
Yeah, I
in
mean,
that
these are the
capacity.
stupid things that they're basically backlogging for no reason. I mean, like there has to be a better way for someone who's a participating member of a society, and is actually doing the right thing, to have the ability to have some level of autonomy over a family, uh, in this country, and you really don't, in a way, even if you are a hardworking guy. It's not as easy as being like, well, my wife wants to come here. It's like, okay, put her in queue. And you're like, well, what do you mean? Like, you're putting me in a worse financial situation by not letting someone I'm married to come here, so it's these little bureaucracies that I've argued on other podcasts, because people have said, well, if it's such an easy fix, why don't they fix it? And the argument is that they will never fix the issues they run on. That's just how politicians work. Like, I've always argued this 100 times over. Like, if they fix the border, they don't have a path to run on. If they fix abortion, they don't have something to run on. So the argument I've always made is they'll always fix it just enough to make it a problem later. They just won't fix it, even though they have the capacity, the money, and the infrastructure to do it. It's just not their care, because they won't have anything to run on. Like, if you look at all the statistics of what people vote for, it's like these 4 to 5 issues that generally have all answers that could be fixed within moments, but it would take away the whole base, right? It's like, well, this is what we run on every time. So what happens if we take it away? Well, if we don't have crime there, or we have a more secure border, what do we do? It's like, well, do we have anything else to run on? Well, I don't know what's going to happen in 5 years. It's like, well, then leave it. Just put some more staff there so it looks better, for the
What
next.
makes people angry? What makes people angry enough to actually get out and want change? And
Well, I
that's,
think what reminds people that they need government, right? And then that you're the government that's going to fix it.
yeah, we're going to
You're
help
the
you.
side that's going to change that for people,
Yeah.
And listen, like, government is often misunderstood as a place for helping people, when really government's role is just to, like, sustain basic economic infrastructure for survival, not for growth and prosperity. But it's presented as growth and prosperity, which is the same scam as schools. Like, schools don't prepare you to be rich. Schools prepare you to go work, but they sell you this thing that a higher degree means higher money. So when you go in the workforce and you're like, well, no one paying me more because I ain't got no experience, you're like, that was a scam. Why did I spend 400 grand on that?
If you like clips like this, I have a similar clip here. And if you want to watch the full video, click here.